Hey, I'm Chef Jenny, and this is week 1, and we are going to make a seared sirloin with cauliflower mash and sautéed spinach. So let's get started. I've got my cast iron skillet heating up over heat. Once it gets nice and warm, that's when we're going to oil our pan. I've had my sirloin resting, so it's come to room temperature, and now we're ready to season it. I'm only going to season it with some sea salt, so we want nice coarse sea salt and black pepper. And you can be generous with your seasonings, as you can see. And if you have a pepper mill, you can always adjust how small or large you want your peppercorns. So we're going to flip it over. Be sure to season all sides. Even the edges. Okay. So we're going to let that rest for a minute, and I'm going to wash my hands. Now that our pan is nice and hot, we're ready to sear our steak. So we're going to lay it in there gently. And that's the sound that you want to hear, a nice sear. So the key to getting that nice sear is that we're not going to move our steak around. We're just going to let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes. And so while that is browning on one side, we're going to go ahead and prepare our cauliflower for our cauliflower mash. I've already steamed a head of cauliflower florets. You want to make sure that you steam or boil your cauliflower florets for at least 5 to 8 minutes so that it's nice and tender. Now we're going to season it and then puree. I'm going to add some sea salt, some smoked paprika, and a little bit of red pepper flakes. And so to make our cauliflower mash, I'm going to be using an immersion blender. So our cauliflower is nice and soft, so what this is going to do is going to puree up our cauliflower. And this is going to be our starch to go with our steak. With an immersion blender, you'd want to move it around to make sure that you get all of the larger pieces pureed to resemble a mashed potato. All right. So our steak is smelling really good. When you sear your steak, you're going to do both sides, but also don't forget to sear up the fat cap on the edges because that's what's really going to give you a lot of flavor. Oh yeah, that's looking beautiful. And depending on the temperature that you like your steak will depend on how long you cook on each side. I'm going to go for a medium rare. If you prefer it a little bit more done, just cook it for a little longer on each side. Once we finish searing up our steak, we're going to saute our spinach in the same pan because we're going to have all those beautiful flavors from the sirloin already in our pan, which is going to just add more flavor to our spinach. So now that we've got each side seared up, I'm going to turn it over on the fat cap side. And you can hold it in place, but you really want to get a good sear on that fat side. And it's also going to add more flavor to your pan, so when we saute our spinach, it's going to be even tastier. So we only need maybe a minute, 1 to 2 minutes on each side here. So now you can see the nice caramelized fat on the edges. Okay, we'll give it another minute or two to bring it up to temp that you prefer, and then we're going to remove it from the pan and saute our spinach. Okay, so we're ready to remove our steak from the pan. We're going to sit it over here. Really important to allow your meat to rest. So what that's going to do is going to keep all that juiciness inside so that we don't lose it when you start slicing into your meat. So now that we have a yummy pan, I'm gonna spray a little bit more oil in here, and we're gonna add our spinach. So we all know that the spinach is gonna wilt down, so we'll start with a lot and end up with a little. Also be sure to turn your heat back. So we had our heat on medium-high to saute our steaks because we wanted to get a nice hard sear on the outside of that steak. But for our spinach, you can turn the heat back down to a low. So we're gonna let our steak rest, get our spinach in here. It's gonna pick up all of those flavors on the bottom of the pan from cooking our steak. So all that natural fat from the steak, salt and the pepper, and I'm gonna add a little bit of minced garlic to our spinach, a teaspoon of minced garlic, and for a little bit of heat, we're gonna add some more red pepper flakes. This is only gonna take 1 to 2 minutes to get our spinach sauteed down. Beautiful, and that's where I want it. So we're ready to turn our heat off. I'm gonna let my spinach sit here. We're gonna slice into our sirloin and we're gonna plate it up. I'm gonna cut it, I'll cut it this way towards you. So you want to just do some nice thick slices, and we'll plate it up real pretty. All right. That is a nice rare. If you like it a little bit more cooked, then you can always cook it a little bit longer. So to plate, we're gonna lay our mashed cauliflower down. So we use similar flavors for all of our components. So we used our salt and pepper as always, the mashed cauliflower. We've got our sauteed spinach, which I'm gonna plate on top of our cauliflower. And then we're gonna weigh out our 4 to 6 ounces of steak and then shingle that across the cauliflower and sauteed spinach. Now I'm just gonna do a rough chop of some chives for a garnish. And we have our week 1 sirloin with mashed cauliflower and sauteed spinach.